Yes. There is, and now I can get up.
It's a bed chair.
And then I do lots of aubergine.
But I'm saying, even if if you're like tired, you're hungry,
Apparently the best seat in the
just
house.
cook pasta, you heat tomato sauce.
Okay,
spices,
we need to get this
and,
workshop going.
Yes.
cheese on top.
Where is everybody?
It's
Let's get everybody in.
Yeah, but,
for a definition of
but there
food.
is mushrooms.
So-
like, basically,
Yeah.
you put mushrooms.
Yeah.
Take
Don't worry about it. I only have 5 slots.
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, and anything you add is benefit. But
So
my
agenda
point
is
is
you
that-
do what
so
goes.
we used to
Klaus
make
does the
in the fall
past
we
and
would
present
make
of
VBS.
DBS. You do
I
past
do.
and present
I
of
do.
big pots of some kind of
Yes.
tomato-based
Then
sauce,
I do the
with
what
different
are we actually
vegetables.
doing here?
and
Yes.
then freeze them in small 400
And then we
gram
go into
things,
the whole
and then you can
brainstorming
just
for
put them out and like
what do we actually want to do.
the point is
in- in-
even if you don't make anything else extremely quickly, you can have something that fills you up.
This one, I'm just like,
Yeah.
you prepare a very good
Yeah.
Italian like meal.
Yes.
Yeah. Olive,
Yes.
tomato,
Yep.
aubergine, for
Yes.
example, and then you have mushrooms, you have bacon. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we're here, we're good. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's up?
Oh my god. I didn't even have time to.
You spend more time preparing the presentation than I spend
Can you
preparing
check
the
if mine is off?
But it's fine.
It should be on, right?
No, I'm
No,
not.
it's off. Yes, off. Right.
It's on now, right?
No, hang on, wait.
What did it say?
It's off.
It says dashboard. Yeah.
Castle.
What does it say?
Dashboard.
Dashboard.
GPT.
Yeah, that's probably not
It has people wearing cameras. Look.
No.
Right.
That's also not.
Okay.
So now you have to decide, okay, so stay
Is this
on.
one? GPT.
That's course.
What do you do?
I think this is generative AI.
Oh yeah, well some variation.
What is it?
Okay.
So your let's wait a second. My camera is not working. Your time and date is also completely messed up.
Oh, my time and date's messed up anyway, so
Yeah.
Oh, we were supposed to fix that.
it didn't give me an option.
Yeah. Well, this is why we have the
Yeah,
on
yeah.
lock. And also now it's locked. Where is it locked?
Yeah, it didn't offer me the option to set it.
No, it didn't offer me the option either, so we'll be post-processing that.
This is very interesting. Now it just doesn't.
I looked at the clock, so.
What did you do?
Yeah, we shall pass by the clock.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah.
I did nothing. What's that? Klaus,
Yeah.
stop behaving like a user.
No, but seriously, now it just doesn't. It's completely stopped responding to any.
Maybe we should pull out.
Yes, but then I'm afraid that it says, oh, not enough power, and then.
Boss?
You wanna be in a boss chair or?
The boss chair. That's the boss chair.
That's the boss chair. You wanna go to the boss chair?
No.
You even have a cup holder.
Okay. Now it is. Now it. Oh. Okay.
So can this one be?
Yeah, exactly.
Push it
This
back
is
down,
what.
yeah.
This is
More
what
modest.
This is exactly what I wanted to not happen. Okay.
Two lots.
Okay.
But if you know exactly what happens, you have to prepare for it, right?
So I cannot possibly prepare for people not following instructions.
You know how they say in software engineering, but something doesn't work. That's the fault of an engineer, you know.
Yeah.
And whenever you design a system, you know how the pictures students will come.
No, you can sit next to it.
Well, I will happily forward your comments to GoPro Inc.
Stefan, why do you think they asked us to test it?
If anything can go wrong, it will.
Okay, but now it's recording again. So now we just need to have a look at it.
Oh, actually,
it's you with those.
I just took this one, and then I will put it again. I was looking for it. While cooking it was pretty hot there.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Klaus, you look beautiful. Stop looking in the mirror.
Thank you.
We all look like psychopaths from some cyberpunk movie.
Well, while we're here, everybody can have a good hard look at the clock. So we actually know what time it is.
We
It
need
is
that.
your time.
Apparently.
Well, it's yes.
Who's missing from the workshop?
Well, everybody
5,
counts.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cameras.
Is enough, I think so. Already.
1, 2,
10
3,
go
4,
for
5,
and look at.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Count yourself, man.
Oh, it's Luca you're missing.
And Florian, right?
What? You should be 10 cameras.
Sorry.
Lauren's there.
I didn't see you.
Camera is in somewhere here.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
10 moving,
Just,
5 stationary.
Go my side.
Okay.
Can you control it from here?
No, I have to stand up.
Oh no.
Okay, let's go. 1 hour and 5 minutes late.
That's a success, man.
Castle.
Right.
What does it mean?
I wanted to book a castle, I couldn't afford it. I planned to book a castle, but they became too expensive, so next year if we get a bigger grant, we can go to a castle!
Yay!
Castle proper.
We can
Okay.
have a brainstorming like session.
There or at least there was an acronym at some point.
But we can do
I
it
don't
again.
think anyone wrote it down.
But we're in a conference called Castle, right?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Experiment. Castle experiment.
We talk about Life Castle.
Yeah, life.
It's well, yeah.
Life logging experiment.
There has to be, will be at some point an acronym
Conference?
for this.
No, conference. Conference people.
Of
call us-
academic scientists who think life logging.
Little
Experiment.
something.
Oh
no.
Oh no, hang on, it's all gone. It's all gone. Bad. Apparently, the HDMI cable connection isn't great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need a clicker? I think I make
No,
one.
I need a table. Okay,
No,
let's just keep
but
going.
we can
That
have
is
a
working. Don't do this for very long.
Take this one.
We can.
Is Castle actually registered with the trademark
You're
office?
gonna break
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Kakao.
This is
Remove
what
the
you.
mirror.
This is what you get if you use generative
Remove the
AI.
mirror.
Thank you.
There is a mirror. No, remove the mirror from the
No,
wall.
this
It's
is-
okay.
this is-
Some water, I don't know. It's just water.
You actually get a lectern. So professional.
Yes.
We are professional. Okay, so look, let's keep going. Welcome to Castle. Live Castle. Why are we here? Leading researchers. That's you. To define the challenge,
Seriously?
the next great challenge for working with lifelong video data. The background is there was a call from SIGMM for expressions of interest for some multimedia related activities for the community, right? And Klaus decided to put in a bid and I worked with him on it. And that bid was successful.
Yeah.
It led to this. I think there were 4 or 5 bids that were successful. We saw that at ACM Multimedia last year, or this year, a few months ago. And the bid was successful on the basis that we host a workshop to define a challenge for ACM Multimedia Conference in Dublin in 2025. That is something to do with live logs and video. That's the challenge, right? That's why we're here. We then decided it wouldn't be great, rather than just have a workshop, to have a workshop and data gathering experiment at the same time. Hence, we end up in the end of the world, at the west of Ireland, where nobody else exists. And that's why we're here. Okay, that's why you're all wearing cameras. And not every camera is straight, but let's just go with that. Arising from Castle 24, i.e. this week, we'll run a new challenge at ACM Multimedia in Dublin. Yay! We will release an epic new data set for the community to use. And we will hopefully, in the course of the 1 hour or 1 hour and a half every day this week, we actually spend in a formalized workshop setting to find the next steps in video live logging research. Okay? Identify how to support the community to grow and be more impactful. That's why we're here. Okay? So there's a work element, there's a data gathering element, and there should be a fun element to this whole thing too. Make sense?
Yes.
Yay! Woo! Woo! Okay, that's probably quite loud here. The plan for Castle 24 today, 3rd of December, isn't it 3rd of December?
Yes.
Of an unnamed year. We will begin workshop and data set gathering. I wrote these slides last night, Luke, I'm very late.
Also, on the previous slide, you said, well, next year in 2025.
But this also Castle 24 there.
Okay, we now know. Okay, we can't change it now. Castle 24, which is the 24th edition of the Castle Workshop. So we're going to gather a data set in which every participant engages in a realistic and safe POV live logging of everyday activities. Safe because we're not going out interacting with people. Okay, we're in a closed and a closed, quiet environment. Rules we have to follow, which Luke will run through with you, include things like not wearing the cameras to the bathroom, stuff like that. We just don't want to know, right? Wednesday the 4th, Thursday the 5th of December, we continue doing what we're doing now. We'll have a large breakfast, we'll continue to gather today, set and continue to have our workshops. On Friday the 5th of December, you tend to finalise the plans for a grand challenge, chart the way forward for the research community, define the next steps for this group, what comes out of this, and then finalise the data gathering, which will happen over the coming month or two, because there's quite a lot of data, quite a lot of work to be done on that. And then Saturday we go back home. Okay, so that's basically it. We have a social activity or two. We're going to the smoked salmon factory. It is the only activity in this area, so enjoy that.
It's the best activity it's like the
It is
highlight of the area.
Yeah, it's 5 kilometers away, so it's not that far. And that I believe is at 3:30 on Friday. And on Friday night we have a banquet of sorts in Kyo's down the road. So that's it. Okay, you want to talk now?
Of course.
Right. Then I'll jump back in again.
Thank you. All right. Yes. So hopefully the project.
Why are we
works.
wearing the same shirt, man? Then
Maybe.
you become
Yes,
elderly
maybe.
person, you buy this brand, and then soon it becomes the same color.
Yeah, I brought my ICMR one because there's more people with that. We get confused with what camera.
I didn't think
Okay.
before.
Yeah. So actually, we think that this data set might be usable for the live log search engine, but also maybe for the video
Yes.
browser showdown. That's why I will give a very short introduction what it actually is. So what is it? It's a live evaluation platform for interactive video search, which really performs large-scale video content retrieval. And we have different types of queries. I will give some examples. And we have a competitive setup because we have not only a large data set, but we have also a lot of participants. And yeah, it's going for several hours. It's also an entertaining event because it's connected to the welcome reception at the MMM conference every year. And so this is how it looks like. It started in 2012 in Klagenfurt, and then we went every year to different places at the MMM conference. And what you can see here on the right, this is the last iteration in 2024. And next year we will continue this in January with 16 teams actually. And here we can also see that a lot of different teams from all around the world have participated in this competition. There are some very strong teams. One of them, of course, is from the University of Basel, one from Charles University in Prague, and another one from Pisa. Yeah, and a few more, of course. There are so many teams that I cannot mention them all. And the query types, we have known item search, where you know what you are looking for visually, also textually, the second one. So that would be a visual example. And the teams need to find this as fast as possible and only see this small clip. And the textual one would be a description like a girl and a man run up a small hill. There is a flagpole with a Canadian flag on top. There are white green benches, a lamp post and stairs up the hill. The flagpole is on top of a stone structure with a cannon. I think this was a very challenging task actually. I could hardly imagine how it looked like. Yeah, and that would be the scene.
It takes a boy to live, it takes a man to pretend he was
Right.
there.
So we were going to see the flagpole with the Canadian flag. Right. Okay. And then we have visual question answering. And somehow I did not have enough time. But we had question answering like this. How many nights do we see passing in the video until this segment? I think this is very interesting because you also need the video playback functionality and quickly go over the video. And of course you need to understand that the darkness outside could be an indication of how many nights you see in the video. And we have
That's not way too much music.
You got maybe mute it?
Well,
Yeah, perfect.
if the license of the data set is okay, then this
Okay.
this should be
I
all
think so,
Creative
yes.
Commons
Okay,
license.
Well,
It should be.
For
Yeah,
me, it
you
should
never
be.
know, yeah.
it should be. All of these videos are Creative Commons licensed,
Exactly.
Yeah.
but
You're relying on somebody else.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Some,
that's okay.
some of
I
these
think we're
people
okay.
who make these videos are not entirely versed in the intricacies of licensing. So there may be
They're not all lawyers?
I'm
Lucas talked to lawyers too much.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so this is from V3C, should be fine. And then we have ad hoc video search where we need to find as many as possible items for a specific topic. And I don't have any examples for that, but Luca mentioned the data set. Here we can see the different data sets that were used over the years. We started with only 30 videos, 38 hours. We went on to 100 hours and then ended up last year with 2,300 hours from the V3C1 and V3C2 data set. Plus we had the Marina video kit. I'm not sure if somebody of you knows how much hours are there, but I think tens or dozens.
I think it was 14, 15
14,
in the first
yeah.
slide, and again as much in the second slice that were
Is that 40 or 14?
14.
14.
Yeah, okay, so
I
we will
think
have
we're up to about 30-ish with the
with the current one.
with the addition that
Okay.
comes in this.
Yeah, so this is the final one here in 2025. We will have the MVK2 with this amount, and then we have the full V3C collection with overall 3,801 hours.
Yes.
And we also have the medical data set, the laparoscopic hysterectomy with 100 hours. And yeah, this I think will be a great challenge in 1 month roughly.
So we may have in 2026 a lifelong challenge as part of this, right?
Right, exactly. So that would be another part for the VPS where we
What,
look
1,
into these
2,
videos.
10, 400 hours. 500, 600 hours of content.
Right?
Thereabouts.
That
High overlap.
400 hours,
Not
right?
not quite as
Fixed
much.
cameras as well, right?
Yeah, sure, but it's only about. Well, we'll go into the numbers in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be a very nice challenge as well. And yeah, I think finally to conclude my part of the presentation, I think what we saw at the VPS is that currently all systems use state-of-the-art technologies like Clip and Blip and so on, but also there is some consistency within teams, that the same team with different users performs similarly, which is good, I think. And the user interface is very important. I think this is also a very unique aspect of the VPS. It's not only, let's say, the system behind, but a lot is by the user interface and how you provide interaction possibilities.
Actually, nice to have kept the video browser term.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think this is quite important.
Exactly. Right. So that's it. So thank you very much.
May I just short advertisement break in this point? If you think VBS is a cool thing to do and you haven't volunteered any judges from your team for 25, please let me know.
Lynn's going.
Yeah, I got
Volunteer!
Yeah, we'll be the one.
Well, you don't need to be there actually. Judges can be remote as well. So, but if you're there, even better, yeah.
You're going too.
We can do it remotely, but what time until
Probably.
It's actually quite convenient for European time because it's afternoon, so it gets into the morning
Not
in.
here.
Well,
we can
Werner,
do it remotely.
Andy.
Andy, I will
You guys talk to Andy.
He
to
could
get
be a
more
good
detail.
judge.
Yeah, well, check with him and let me know. Please.
Yes.
Yeah? Hmm?
Okay, let's keep going.
Remind me to remind Klaus to remind me to
I want to follow up with a short few slides about the LifeLock Search Challenge, motivated by Gordon Bell's work on My Life Bits. So Gordon Bell built a lifetime store and was built inside of a database. You could query it through a nice interface. We want to take this into the community as well. So over the past decade or so, we've run a number of different challenges at NTCAR in Japan, Image Clay in Europe, and the one we want to talk about today is the LSC LifeLock Search Challenge. really motivated by the Video Browser Showdown Challenge, which was so successful. Hence, we're going to talk about that. In terms of growth, we started off with 6 teams in Yokohama in 2018, and most recently we had 21 participants in the most recent LifeLog Search Challenge, which took place just a couple of months ago in Phuket in Thailand. Date, anchoring everything. So, LifeLog data
A
set.
couple months ago is stretching into French territory, where you have the husband and the wife and the husband's mistress and then everything.
It's a happy family.
yeah, exactly. It's 5 months ago now.
The data set we have is not quite as large as the 3,801 hour VBS data set. It is an 18-month data set from one person, anonymous person. It contains wearable camera data from fixed image sequence wearable cameras, concept detectors, stuff like that. It contains some real camera phone photographs as well, matched biometrics from monitors, heart rate sensors, etc. and watches. We did a bit of information access, but that's really problematic for privacy concerns. And then activity detection annotations as well. So those data sets become reasonably large. I think we ran to around about a million images, give or take, in these kind of data sets. I really can't remember now, 780,000 or something.
Yep.
We tend to look for images as answers as answers to queries, and they're the typical units of retrieval. So it's quite challenging, especially because we have to do anonymization. And with video data that's openly available online, you download the videos. With LifeLog data, you have all kinds of challenges related to faces and content on screens and phone content as you're using your phone, because this inevitably gets captured. So you have to come up with a process where LifeLog reviews and cleans their data. They share it with our researchers in the university. The researcher then checks to make sure that things are okay, and we resize all content to make sure text isn't necessarily legible. We then anonymize anyway the screens and the faces, and then we review it again and release the data sets. It takes quite a long time to do that, but then we even with that have strict access controls. If you sign up to use LifeLog dataset, you sign up to rules that says we can ask you to delete any image and you must do it, or delete the whole dataset. Right? We haven't had to do that, but that's in there. Okay, so type of queries, just as VBS has spoken about, we have known item, ad hoc, and Q&A queries. Known item queries find a particular image of an event, right, or activity that meets an information need. I'll look at an example of that. This was an example from 2 years ago. There was a man in the front row with a yellow hat on. I was on a stage in a room with a lot of people watching. I was on some sort of panel writing notes. I remember the man had a blue sweater on also. It was in France at AC Multimedia 2018. Over the course of 3 minutes, you get more detail given to you.
19, Nice.
19.
Was it?
Yeah.
19. Oh yeah, sorry. I can't read. But that's an example of the picture that we have here. Another ad hoc queries. Find all the examples of something important. Like find all the times I was taking medication or vitamins at home. Imagine a scenario where a physician cares about this in an elderly person living alone. You want to quantify this kind of information. Or find examples when I was wearing my yellow Happy Bee t-shirt. Right? That kind of query. And it's a very nice t-shirt actually. Finally, Q&A, most interestingly, this is what the real challenge is right now. Because we can kind of do finding content and even aggregation of finding content. Q&A. I visited a famous Korean temple with friends. Actually, some of them are here. A few years ago. What did I do immediately afterwards? We got a coffee, right? In a tea. It was a tea shop with a served coffee. Oh, so you're anonymously in this data set.
With even green tea cheesecake, you know.
Oh yeah, it had matcha cheesecake. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, that is you.
It might even be the same.
Different shirt, but it's you.
I cannot fit into
Another example.
So much for anonymization, but okay, sure.
It's a blurred face. It's only recognizable to people who know him really well.
Also, is he wearing his name tag?
No, he's not.
No, not on this one.
No, that's actually the cake.
Because this is from Seoul.
Okay.
By the shade, you can even guess who is the second anonymized person.
Okay, so we were there. Okay.
I was there.
Next query. You were there too.
Yes.
There's at least 3 or 4 of us that were there. Okay, second one. Damn it, my car is a flat tire. What was the name of the car service repair company I used in the summer of 2019? I want to call them again to get my car fixed. This is a real kind of challenge, right? What was the name of the company we went to a number of years ago? And then even more complicated, the one that nobody got right last year. What airline did I fly most often with in 2019? Real complex aggregation queries. But that's what we're pushing for, that's what we're aiming for here. The issue with all of these data sets is that they're image sequence, 2 images a minute. We're trying to push beyond that now. And then, of course, this led to what we think now is a standard LifeLog search engine, right? Which really focuses on visual embeddings, multimodal embeddings as a key access mechanism. Once again, intuitive interface is really important, just as Klaus said for the VBS, and then all of the other stuff that goes inside of this. If you want to find out, there's lots more papers available at the LSC website, so you can have a look at that, certainly. And then I'll just say thank you, and let's kick off the workshop.
Thank you.
Let's go! And we're going to have Luca to tell us what we're doing and how we should do it properly.
Yes.
And all the mistakes we're making, what we shouldn't do.
Okay, so I didn't have slides for this. This is more going to be a bit of a show and tell. So just to give you a bit of technical detail on how this all is actually working. I mean, you're already all wearing the cameras, but just so that you all are aware what you actually have. These are GoPro Hero 10s.
Yes.
They're equipped with a 256 gigabyte SD card, and they're set to record at Ultra HD 4K in 50 frames a second, continuously.
Sorry.
Gesundheit. This gives us about 8 or so hours, depending on what's actually going on, of recording capacity per camera per day. These recordings are not necessarily continuous. You can interrupt them at any time whenever you're doing something that you may not want to be on the record. You can interrupt this at any time. Again, important, just pause the recording. Do not turn off the camera, because if you turn off the camera, it goes out of sync, and all the timing issues, and it might also then complain about starting up. It has some not enough power issues because it's not actually powered from the internal battery. It is powered.
Just a hint, also do not touch the touch screen.
Yes,
So that
try
happened to me.
not to touch the touchscreen because it is very swipey, right? You might accidentally change the mode or something, so try to only use the top button. Also, it is blinking whenever it is recording, so I can now see, when I look at all of you, that all of your cameras are actually blinking, so all of you will recording what I'm telling you. If you happen to see somebody walking around and the camera is not blinking, do let them know, because that might not be intentional.
Do you also have a feeling of this Strange Days cyberpunk movie? Do you remember that one, 20-some years ago?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
Let's go.
Okay, crazy movie.
It looks, we all look reasonable though, right?
Honestly, I thought it would be weirder.
Could be worse. Right?
Could be worse.
Could be worse. So, in order to facilitate this long form recording, you're also all wearing pouches or other types of batteries. So this is a 20 amp hour battery. It has plenty of capacity to run this camera until the SD card is full. We will recharge these every night as well. So every night, data is copied off. You get the fresh SD card and the fully charged battery back in the morning. In addition to the cameras you're wearing, there's some stationary cameras. There's one over there, there's one over there, and there's two more in this part of the house, and then one additional one in the other room. At least the four in here are set to record continuously for the entire day. So they should each record 12, 13 hours, depending on when exactly we stop for the day, to essentially anchor the activities of all the individual things. What we will do afterwards is to ideally frame level align all these videos, so they're perfectly synced in time, or at least as perfect as we can make them. We don't actually know the clock drift of these cameras, so we will have to see what level of precision is actually achievable with this. But this is going to be a post-processing problem.
Maybe a good computer vision task actually for later.
Yeah, there's gonna be
Yeah.
some interesting things. So there's gonna be some pre-processing that we're doing that we will have to do.
He got an ERC for this line of time, arrow of time type of tasks.
Time alignment task is interesting.
Yeah, but the time alignment will probably need to happen before we actually release this.
Yeah, it will, anyway.
There's a bunch of things so essentially a series of tasks, right?
Yeah,
So we will generate the raw data with the sensors and with some more sensors that I'm going into in a minute. And then there's essentially multiple stages, right? There will be some processing on this that needs to happen before we release this, just in order to say, okay, this is the data set, this is all the data augmentation we already did, this is what you can work with. And then afterwards we have two parallel streams in activities that are already set up to happen next year. One being the challenge and the other being the hackathon. And we'll go into this in a bit, but especially also the hackathon will be able to do more data augmentation. So this is also something that we will have to think about, have to set up. We can even maybe do some prototyping throughout these days, just to see what are all the processes we actually want to do with this. In order to aid with the time alignment, you have seen I went through with the notebook before. We have two clocks that are set up to be machine readable. So every time you start your recording, I would ask you to go and have a look at the clock, because that will help us figure out when exactly in time your recording was, because the wall clock time in these devices is not the greatest. It is not super precise. Even if you set it as precisely as you can, at least with the manual interface, it will be set to the minute. And with 50 frames a second, there's still a lot of frames that you might be out, right? So the machine readable clock with the QR code updates roughly 5 times a second. So this gives us a much more precise window to actually align these things.
So ideally we should turn on the cameras in front of the clock.
You should probably turn on the camera in front of a mirror, just to make sure that it's pointing roughly where you expect it to point. We have a bunch of mirrors around here. And then once you did that, go and visit the clock soonish, because then we can have an automated process that essentially always at the start of the video starts to look for the clock and then computes back when the start frame of that recording actually happened in time relative to the clock.
And all the clocks in this house, the physical real clocks, all show different times.
Yeah, so don't...
I tried to correct 2 of them, so there's 2 that should at least
Yeah, so
kind of the same.
do not rely on any other clock. So the QR code clock is what we consider truth.
Considered winding up that one, but it's too complicated.
This one is right exactly 2 times a day. There's some clocks
This
here
one is
that are
reasonable. You must have done
Yeah, I
that.
said that one.
Yeah.
there's some clocks in
And the
here
one
that
in
are
the
never
kitchen.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, time is difficult with this, right? What this is also recording is audio. So everything that is said here, everything that anyone can hear will be in the recording,
And that
which
makes,
also sets apart this data set from some of the others out there.
even if all the cameras are turned off, there's still the fixed cameras in the rooms. Right? So pretty much anywhere you go to, with the exception of upstairs, we assume, will have
Well, actually, in
audio
rooms
camera.
also downstairs.
No, in your room there's a camera.
Yeah.
I knew it!
That's why the door was open.
He said it for a second time. I have to check the room.
No, so essentially, right? There's the individual rooms, which are supposed to be camera-free zones. Everything else out here is essentially expect to be on
Yes.
camera at any point.
Everything you say.
in
will be
time,
captured.
anything you say, anything you do within the public area is
So
is on
basically,
camera.
the experiment is called how to get us all fired from the university.
That is entirely up to
possible,
you.
So let's not try to.
So yeah, behave yourself. So these are the main sensors. We have some other things, right? So all of you are wearing a Fitbit. This will record some very basic activity and biometric information that we will also endeavor to time align as much as we can. I'm not entirely sure what frequency and what precision we will be able to get out of these things ultimately, but this is certainly some post-processing that we'll be doing. On top of that, there will be some non-streaming data, so we have some other photographic cameras that we can take some pictures with, and some other sensors just to record some bits and pieces that can be used as augmentation. And then of course all the things that we will be able to extract from this data, and especially from the aggregate across different views. But when you're looking at me while I'm looking at you, this gives me ways to infer things about you that you would not be possible to infer from your stream alone, right? Yes. These sort of things.
I have one question. So what is with the charging of the?
They should last for the whole week.
The idea would be that these do not need to be charged throughout the week. They should last. If you notice it going low, please contact any of our helpers, and then we can have them charged. These things, so the battery packs need to be charged every night. The other things should be good to go. Ideally, we tested this, it worked in the test, but then again, we will see how it actually behaves in this setting, and we might need to adjust as we go along. Okay. The whole point of this is, again, as we've already briefly mentioned, to, at least initially, use this for 2 upcoming activities, both of them associated with ACM Multimedia 2025, happening next fall. One of them being a more classical thing as a grand challenge, and the other thing is a more interactive, more experimental thing, and we want to have a hackathon where people interact with this data. So the grand challenge has more of a data analytics flavor to it, as in we will give people the data set as is, or as we will be able to prepare it in time.
Probably February or March, we guess.
Ideally, sometime within the first quarter of 2025.
Can you tell us what preparing means? Because you said substantial annotation is going to happen.
Yes. So this is some of the details are also to be discussed here. What is happening, or what definitely will need to happen, is the precise time alignment of all the streams. They will be encoded in a common structure, in a common format. So you will probably have videos that are all structured in a way that, for example, all the individual video chunks are exactly 1 hour long. Mm-hmm. They always start on the hour. In case there's no recording, there's some insert that says this was camera number 5, this was the time, but there's no video data available for that segment, something like this. And they're all time aligned, so you have camera 1, hour 1, day 1, and so on and so forth, just in a collection of video files. The exact format to be determined, but something like this. So all of them are aligned. Then we're going to have to do some data augmentation, things that we already know that we would want anyway. So essentially run this through a state-of-the-art auto transcription system, and then afterwards have people look at the transcript and fix some things that the system might have gotten wrong, just to have a ground truth that is of reasonably high quality, especially since this might also be slightly multilingual. Right? I mean, we will have the workshop activities in English, where we have people from all over. Some of them speak different languages, so they might have we might even have some conversations in different languages in the data set, which is also interesting for the whole thing, right? But just to make sure that all this annotation stuff is proper. What these things are also recording are streams of metadata. So these cameras have a 6 degrees of freedom IMU. So they will record at about 200 Hertz, which direction down is, how these things would accelerate all the time, what direction it was looking in. It has a magnetometer, it has GPS. So whenever it takes some measurements, it knows where it was in space. So this can also be used to reconstruct some trajectories or to do some other interesting things. We will try to preserve this data as much as possible throughout all the processing steps, which is going to be a bit tedious, but we will figure out how to do this properly, and probably also export it in some slightly more readable format, because the one GoPro uses is a bit of a pain. It is quite efficient in encoding, but not the most user-friendly thing in the world. So we might just dump this into something that is more easy to read and make this more accessible to people, specifically because we will have some time-aligned streams from these things as well. So we might as well have some other format to just put all of these channels in. Right, so this is, and anything else we can come up with.
And what are these recording?
They are recording
Heart rate.
your heart rate. They are recording your blood oxygenation, I think.
Some basic activities.
And they're recording some step county things at the very least.
It's like an additional data set, right?
I'm not.
I don't think it's doing sleep properly.
Sure
because
if
I
they
don't think
do
it's
temperature. I'm
Yeah,
not.
no
They're
sleep data.
well. They record a bunch of things. It's not yet entirely clear what we can actually get out of these in what format. But at least heart rate and some activity streams and possibly blood oxygenation over time should be possible. Again, they are very coarse, right? This is also something that we might want to think about for any future activities. This is a latter activity in the workshop to come up with
Can I
this.
add to that? It may be possible. Be careful what you do and what you say, right? As Stefan said, it may be possible for us to take something out, but let's say we have to take out what happened right now because Colin said something crazy to get himself fired, right? We'd have to take the data out of all cameras at that point in time. So it's a big deal to do that. Right? So we try to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah, in that sense, also you may want to leave your smartphones in your rooms, because if you happen to get an email that has sensitive information in the subject line, and you look at your phone and there's stuff that is, oh, this cannot be released because it might violate the privacy of some external people, that would then need to be taken out. So this is definitely
and there are 4K cameras all around you. They're quite detailed in what they capture.
Yeah. So assume any text you're looking at can be read.
Yep.
So any text that you realize cannot be shared with the outside world, we need to make a note of this, and this is part of the processing that we will need to do before this goes out. That we need to cut this out.
And you don't want to go back yourself and think, oh, didn't I say something on the first morning, and then try to find it. Like we try to avoid this as much as possible. It's a lot more work to take something out than not put it in the first place.
In short, university became boring. It stimulates boring behavior.
We just have to be super careful, because what happens when a data set is released is that it just goes out there, right? It exists forever.
It used to sound like American Nightmare, you know, like now we are living in American Nightmare.
No, I mean the whole point of this is to actually release the data with as few access restrictions as we can make it, to make it as useful as possible to as many people as possible. So ideally, we would want to publicly release this thing under a Creative Commons, ideally CC BY license, and then just say, look, here's the thing, have at it, right?
Yeah.
And then people can use it for whatever.
Unless Google wants it, they have to pay.
Sponsor upcoming activities.
We will
At least for young people for the conference.
we'll see about the exact details of the release of this thing, right? So okay, but this is the plan, right? There's some things that we will do to it before we release it, and then there are some things that we will facilitate for other people to do to it, and to ideally also augment it for future usage after its release. That's part of the hackathon. The other thing is part of the challenge, where we give them the dataset in whatever form it will be, and we give them a bunch of tasks that we know how to evaluate the correctness of. It's probably going to involve some sort of retrieval queries, similar to what we've seen with VBS and LOC, something like that, but not in an interactive fashion, because these grand challenges are, you get the task, you work on the task, you submit the results, we will evaluate the results, and we tell you how well you did. So it will certainly involve something along these lines. It might also involve some more complex analysis tasks that are a longer form aggregation across this sort of stuff.
How many cups of coffee were drunk?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right? That kind of way of thinking.
Yeah. And then we will just need to figure out how exactly we want to phrase this, how we could possibly evaluate this, and under what procedures we expect this to happen. The interesting part is that the whole process will be somewhat self-documenting, because the whole process of setting up this challenge and defining the precise task of the challenge will be part of the data set that will be used for the challenge. Right? So people can get all the documentation they could possibly need, because they can just watch us coming up with the details.
So basically, you just give out data sets and say the challenge is in the data set.
Yes.
Essentially, yes.
I'll find the queries in the data set.
Essentially, yes. Right. Find the time we came up with this particular query.
Yes.
So just find the query in the data set and then solve the query.
List all the queries. Yes. Find all the queries. Right. This is hard modes. You're not going.
I think this is really amazing. Also for this, I would say, it's not new. We've always wanted to go fully, I would say, unsupervised with everything. I think supervision can only get it there. But we have so much data now and even overlapping streams. I think this is going to be super kind of interesting for self-supervised folks. And
right.
Yeah.
Yes, and I mean this is only the first step, right? Because this is all off-the-shelf hardware. So what is also an intent of this workshop here is to think beyond what we're currently able to do.
What's the next workshop going to look like?
And see if we had infinite budget and infinite time, what would we want to do? And then essentially boil this down to, given that we are presumably not going to have infinite budget and infinite time, what will we be actually able to do if we plan for doing this again in a year or in 2 years?
so I think maybe even more ambitious goal would be in order, because you remember the first session at AC Multimedia? They were talking about future and about multimedia agents and so on. I think maybe we have to even think, not in terms of how do we want, actually that's what they would like us to think about. How would we like the entire field to start moving, at least with regard to one of these lines?
That's what the hackathon conversation at AC Multimedia was about. There was that particular invitation workshop where the hackathon came out of. That was all about the future challenges for the community.
Not only this workshop, but kind of in general, what we want.
Yes, exactly. But all of this hinges on actually having concrete material to work with, and this is going to be one set of data, right? And this has properties that will be unique among the available data sets, because this is not going to be the first POV activity data set. There are a handful of these, and they have been studied quite a bit. But all of these have the limitation that they're either longer form activities in a very confined environment, or that they're very diverse activities in diverse environments that are completely disjointed. So you just have a few recordings of a few minutes, some person doing something, and then this is gone, and you never know what happened before or what happened after. Usually, this is also happening in public, therefore it's heavily anonymized. You are never having people.
Time to move.
Time to move.
Luca, it's taking longer.
Yeah,
I think we need to get coffee soon.
We need to get coffee. Let's keep going.
there's gonna be coffee. We will hopefully not run out of coffee. But then again, we might also be able to do things like when did I have coffee? Predict this solely based on my heart rate, right? Things like that.
It's going to be epic.
Long
So
ago,
many things
it
we
says-
can do.
Yeah, right. So again, the thing is, this will have overlap with types of data that exist. So we will also be able to take inspirations on the kind of tasks that people have been doing with other types of data that has the overlapping aspects. But this is going to have aspects that do not exist because we have many people in the same environment interacting with each other and with the environment. And we have the first person view of all of these people.
Yes.
So this is something that is unique, that is not currently possible to do with any of these data sets that exist. So this will allow us to do new things. And the whole point of this and also of day one today is to start the discussion on what all these things that we could leverage this for might be. So ideally, and what the agenda says that we essentially threw out of the window because we started an hour late, is to today start this brainstorming, this ideation process jointly. And then when people want to discuss this throughout the day, please do. And we will have another round tomorrow morning where we essentially gather the various things people came up with and then go on from there. And we have some more discussion points on hackathon things.
The plan is about 90 minutes every morning of workshop. That should lead to a proposal for a grand challenge at ACM Multimedia and a proposal for a hackathon at ACM Multimedia. And the idea of what would happen for Castle 2.
Wait a second, when you say hackathon and ACM Multimedia, we don't normally have hackathons. We have different formats.
No,
of
Exactly, this is
challenges.
new. This is
It came
new.
out of the ACM Next Steps Multimedia workshop that we had.
And hackathon, would people start working on it before? Because some grand challenges have that form.
This is
Like
independent.
the social
This is
media.
two independent activities. So the
Okay.
format of the Grand Challenge is going to be the same as any Grand Challenge. It has a long term schedule. We will release the data set as soon as we are able. We will release the tasks as soon as we're able. People can sign up, people can download all the data they need, they can work on it, they will submit their results, we will evaluate those submissions, we will tell them how well they did, they will submit their papers
It
about...
would be really good to have a paper also ready before that.
Yes,
We have a
dataset
there will
paper.
need to be a dataset paper.
Oh, but how are we going to manage it before February, March?
Well, the dataset paper will need to go out as a preprint, and the final version of the dataset paper then
be
goes out with.
Potentially in a data set track of ACM Multimedia 26.
Yes, because we are also planning to have a dataset track newly created for
Smart
25.
devices.
So it might go
Siga
in there.
has one,
It might go into
Could
the
be there.
into the Grand Challenge track. Details to be determined. But the preprint will definitely need to go out together with a data set,
Yeah, which describes.
and also the challenge description independently of that, so people know what to do.
So for the dataset track, we're going to have to think really hard because Siga really made it a little bit. Dataset track is, I think, tied with social good in whatever way. So we kind of really want to discard random stuff.
It has to be multimedia related data sets that are released for general purpose usage, right?
Yeah. So we have to be really careful
we have
because there are
chairs
going to
for
be
that.
lots of dataset papers, otherwise.
Yeah, but I mean, independent problem. Right?
Yeah.
Independent of that is the hackathon. the current idea of the hackathon, and all of the details are to be determined, is that given that we're anyway having this longer schedule of the almost 2 weeks of multimedia gatherings around ACM Multimedia, is that the weekend before, in parallel to Medieval, there will be 2 days of hackathon if we can pull this off. And then the idea would be that after these 2 days, there will be a hackathon results session at the main conference. So people have the chance to work on this. They get the data beforehand, because we will have to release the data beforehand anyway. They can work on some things. We can probably have a call for project proposals or something. It's, again, details to be determined. People can work on this for 2 days and then present their results. Ideally with the goal that any data augmentation that comes out of this is then also published as a companion data set to the main thing, to be used for any future activities, however
So one thing that is also good to keep in mind, this is going to be very broad data set, like with lots of streams, meaning just a single camera recording can be data set by itself. So there may be kind of danger that many spin-offs are gonna appear, like and then it becomes really kind of hard to track.
This is exactly why we also need to set this up in a way to say, okay, these are all the
somebody takes just small.
These are all the augmented. But I mean, there's a genealogy of data sets, right? Whenever somebody releases a big thing, then you usually find people who build on this and say, oh, I just have this curated subset that is also precisely annotated.
Right.
That doesn't introduce any new data, it just introduces new annotations, and it has some quality criteria and things like that.
I meant we have to make sure that it's properly credited, like because this.
Yes, but I mean this is the usual. This is exactly. We will need to have all of this traceable. All of this is supposed to be archival, and have this
is going to require people to reference the source.
Yeah. So all of this. So all of this builds and essentially just grows into a resource that is as useful as possible to as large a chunk of the community as we can make, right? Because it has video, it has audio, it has sensor streams, it has interaction, so it might even be useful for people outside of the core multimedia community.
You've seen Keynote in Iceland, like your colleague with the agents. Teaching actually agents, and he was actually making a point that we don't do it right. Basically.
Yeah, so I mean, you can do human-machine interaction studies with this. You can even do communication studies with this, in case communication scientists find something useful in here. Right? I have no idea, but this is essentially exactly right. Emergent problem solving because nobody is a trained chef, right? So we figure out things in the new kitchen. Things like that, right? So there's interesting challenges in this. So again, we will try to make it as useful as we can. There's also some technical challenges that we will have to overcome because this thing is going to be big, right? So this is also something that we will talk about. I hope to be able to briefly talk about some statistics tomorrow after the collection of day one.
Right.
So we, after everything here is exhausted, whenever you're done recording, the thing will beep. It will tell you, I'm done, I'm full. You will not run out of battery, you will run out of storage capacity.
Right.
At some point in the day, hopefully reasonably late in the afternoon, you will run out of storage capacity. What you should do then is hand off the SD card to one of the helpers. They will start copying off the data and prepare this for the next day. Also, data copying is going to take a bit, right? Because we're talking about terabytes of data produced every day. And the SD card interface is not equipped for transferring terabytes of data, right? So it's going to take a while. So the sooner you can give it to them, the sooner they can start copying this off. and we can make sure that this is actually done. And ideally, we will have the data of the previous day available sometime in the first half of the next day and on some portable disks.